Alright, here we go. I am making my best friend's top 10 favorite games. It's so funny. I love top 10 lists. I know that they're ridiculous. They're not anything. But I like talking about someone's personality, man. Someone's likes and dislikes and all that, man. It means a lot to me. And the people around me mean a lot to me. Especially when, they comment in my videos, man, and they watch my videos, which I don't find anyone, how they can ever watch these, but it means a lot to me, So my best friend, I've known him my whole life. Literally since I've been born. He is, I think, 3 years younger than I am. Born 1996. Could be wrong. I think it's 96. Sorry, Luke. But I called him yesterday. We talked about. I wanted, when I was talking to him, I was like, man, I wish that I did this different. And I am doing it different with my brother, where I'm trying to find out what his favorite games were. Now, where I'm gonna try to guess what his favorite games are compared to what his favorite games are. I'm gonna do a vice versa version of what I want the video to be. Again, that doesn't really make too much sense. But my best friend, I wish that I tried to guess what his favorite games were. Made a video about that and then did this, but how the video is gonna be is we made the list together. It's a little unfair to everyone that I'm making a top 10 to, because I have revised my top 10 like a motherfucker. Really. And that's why I think these are ridiculous. But I think that this top 10 is pretty concrete to who Luke is, and to who, some of these games were shocking, to say the least. Mostly the order of them, especially what his number one is compared to what I thought his number one was. That is a big shock to me. But I guess other than that, and then the number 10 is pretty shocking too. I thought that would be a little higher. And the number 2 is a little shocking, just because I know that he absolutely loves the game. But I really think that DS2, and sorry to get a little ahead of myself, but I understand why, and what he likes in a game, I think it personifies. So let's start this off with Luke's number 10, which is Resident Evil 4. I think combined, he has played quite a bit of Resident Evils. I don't think he played the first one. I could be wrong. He did play the second one, and he played the second one, and I'm pretty sure the second one remake, and the third one, but he definitely played the third one's remake. And then he played RE5, he played RE6, RE7, RE8, and I think he played RE6 as well. But he loves RE. Resident Evil 4 was a game that was, GameCube. I think he came over and we played it together. And for me, that's my favorite memory of Resident Evil 4, is us playing it together. And I had played some of it before, and then he was playing, and he was just loving the game, absolutely being yo, this game's fucking incredible. And it really, dude, Resident Evil 4 was something else when it got released on that GameCube with the 2 discs. Oh my god, man. That was one of those games that really blew my mind away. Kind of like what Gears of War Dead Rising ended up doing. I was blown away by Resident Evil 4. I think that was probably the game that I was most blown away by. And I knew that I was going to be, because it just kept on getting 10s out of 10s. But Luke has played this game back to end so many times. It's one of those games for Luke where he's played it, probably a dozen times. Did different runs, got all the, completed the game, got all the medals, tried out different weapons, speed ran the game, just top to bottom, just, this was a game that I remember my other friend, Nick, he loved this game too, but I think that Luke went a step further. Not to compete how much they love a game. That's a ridiculous thing. Everyone can love the game equally and have different completions to the game. You can beat it once and be like, I love this game. Or you can beat it fucking 10 times and then get sick of the game, which me and Luke talked about. So I think that back in the day, I think Resident Evil 4 would probably be like top 3. But I think as time has went by, I think that this is a game that just has lost some of its magic for Luke. But I think that he's still like, this is also a game that I can just go back and just kind of run through. So I think with that dilemma, I think that he respects it and loves it still enough to have it at his 10. But as the magic's faded, I think it's lost that kind of top 5 one. Number 9 is a game series that him and I we absolutely adore, especially the first and second one, which we always go back and forth on, which one ranks higher and for what reasons. And I totally respect his decision to have it above what I would put as my pick. And he has Dead Space. These are games that I think that back in the day I put Dead Space and Dead Space 2 as the package that Resident Evil 4 already is. But as time's gone on, I see Dead Space as a better version of Resident Evil 4. And not for the gameplay reasons, not for how long it is, none of that. I view it as the better game because it has better lore and it has a better feel to it when you're looking for a game that you can't really get anywhere else, that people have tried to make over and over, and nobody can get the sound, nobody can get the space correct, nobody can get the fear of the necromorphs correct. There's nothing like the necromorphs in any horror game I ever played. They're a force that, I know the Flood, people would be like, yeah, but I like the necromorphs way more than the Flood. No offense to the Flood, they're a great enemy, but I don't really care for the Halo lore. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with the Halo lore. It doesn't really click with me that well. Dead Space has always been my forte as far as horror goes, and Luke is right there with me. We both have the same kind of mindset when it comes to Dead Space. I like Dead Space 2 as time's gone on more because it is during, and that's why I like Dawn of the Dead, because Dawn of the Dead is one of my favorite, probably my favorite zombie movie, the remake, because it's happening during the infection. Like, it is happening day 1, day 2. Like, we are seeing, and to complete that and do it correctly, Dawn of the Dead's opening cinematic is, gonna be one of the best openings, 20 minutes of a movie. And Dead Space 2's opening nails that, I think even better than Dawn of the Dead, because you are really going from this metropolis, this freaking the sprawl, this epic city in space, and it's crumbling before your eyes with people getting infected literally right next to you, being pulled into apartment buildings, being pulled off windows, being pulled off ledges into space. It's all happening right in front of your eyes, and it's happening rapidly, and everything crumbles within hours, and it is both terrifying and amazing to see. And I don't think any games nailed that like that. I know people would say The Last of Us, but I'm sorry, man, I'm not a big fan of The Last of Us. I think Dead Space 2 is the better game. I know people will be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it's my opinion, man. And that's exactly what it is. It's my opinion. Yeah, that's it. Like, not to take away anything from The Last of Us. I think that's important to say, is I never try to take away from a game to make another game look better. I totally understand why people would like The Last of Us. But when I'm just putting the two in my mind, what I like more, I put the opening of Dead Space 2 higher. But Dead Space 1 nailed every single thing that you would want in a horror game and more. From the boss fights to the atmosphere to the sound to the guns to the magic of, you know, the beginning of a series. Dead Space has got to have one of the best starts to a series that I think ended in a pretty good manner. I know Dead Space 3 is mixed, but when you're really looking at a game that could have gone way further and ended when it should have, I think Dead Space 3 ended when it should have. I think that we found an answer to another planet that got infected, and then they ended it. And I think a lot of people have an issue with that. Like they're like, we want more. Dude, I don't want more Dead Space. Like, have a series end, and that's it. And I think that Dead Space 3 has a really good ending. I think that the Brother and Moon was such a captivating idea for the Necromorphs to have an end state to. And Dead Space was showing you the hive mind at the beginning of the infection. And that is an awesome pick from Luke for his number 9. I'm going to end this part with DayZ as his number 8. DayZ, again, I think is a game that for Luke is the gameplay of DayZ. It's the quickness of DayZ that he's so inspired by that puts us so high up. Hey, I have an hour to spend, DayZ, put it on. I can either play by myself or I can play with friends. Perfect game for an end cap for his night. A perfect game that, you know, he can take away from some of the horror elements that I know Luke's a fan of. The zombie elements, again, you know, a thing that Luke's a fan of. And post-apocalypse. I end up looking up at his games list. And there's like 5 or 6 games that have this dark end of the world tone and demeanor to it that's like, it's either a terrible world to live in, it's post-apocalypse, or it's a game that has cycles that is kind of post-apocalypse to what its original was, like a world that is now destroyed, that you still have to live through. And I think DayZ is the multiplayer equivalent of that. Like, you're looking at a game that is literally like, this is the post-apocalypse, but in quick, kill everyone and have different experiences every single time you play. And I think that's why he likes it so much. I mean, I can't find another. I don't think I can find less reasons for him to like this game. I think that it's a perfect multiplayer game for him to play at this point of his life. When I come back, I will make from 7 to number 1. But as always, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you soon. All right, so part 2 of that video that I was doing. So Luke, here we go. Let's do part 2 and see how this goes. You see how my little thing goes right there, pop pop pop. All right, so we left off with number 8. We still got 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So at 7 is a game that we have in common, but he's got it way higher than I do. This is Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth 2. I made a comment about this on my top 10 best tactical RPG / strategy games. I think this was like right around 7 for me, but for all time, he's got it at number 7. My brother probably loves Lord of the Rings more than anyone that I know, as far as Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, everything like that. But a second place is me and Luke, as far as I know. You know, my dad too, but D&D people. You play D&D, it's like Lord of the Rings. And for Luke, I mean, and myself, we grew up, my whole family, we grew up with Lord of the Rings, with Star Wars, but more so Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, we watched the animated movies, all the families. And then when the movies came out in 2001, that was an immediate watch. And everyone was just blown away by it. And you know, at this point in my life, I don't care which Lord of the Rings, trilogy, which one you like the most. I don't even think you can, because if you watch one, you should watch the rest of them. And as far as liking one more than the other, they're all the same movie. They just tell the same story in the same way. And you can pick parts of the movies that you like. Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth happens to have kind of a mix on that story. And the gameplay is so much fun. I mean, you pick Gondor, you pick the dwarves, you pick the elves, or you go the other side where you pick the goblins, or you pick Saruman's army, or you pick Sauron's army, or you pick that weird yellow army. I don't even know what that was. That was like miscellaneous evil creatures. But man, that game was so much fun, man. I remember playing countless hours online, and guess who did the same thing? Luke did. And I think Luke liked the story more than I did. And I think when he plays a game, he'll play the story probably more than I do. If it's a multiplayer game in any aspect, he will be playing the story. And then he'll probably beat it before I do, tell me about it. Or I won't even beat it, and he'll be like, oh yeah, I beat that. But I did beat both those campaigns, and I did like them. But I always just played skirmish, or I played online. But he played with me, and we quote that game all the time. This is a very good pick on his list. Number 6 is Fallout New Vegas. I always knew that Luke was a Fallout fan. I just didn't know which one was his favorite. But I was almost certain that it was New Vegas. And I could see, again, we're talking about these post-apocalypse worlds, Luke. I'm worrying about you, man. You know, you have a lot of these dark games. I kid, man. I guess we have so much in common, because most of our games are these kind of like mature take on the world. I think our list kind of equals out, me and him, with these dark games with a few. Oh man, he really only has two games that are not of the horror or post-apocalypse games. So. You know, that's sometimes where games take place. We're not all jolly, you know. But New Vegas, what can I say? This is Obsidian. This is the same guy who wrote Avalon, who wrote Planescape Torment. I cannot say enough about how good or well written this game is. I mean, this is one of the most well written games of all time. I believe that this goes hand in hand with Planescape Torment. Planescape Torment's gameplay is not for everyone. And I think that's where New Vegas, you end up finding that the gameplay is better. So if you're looking for a game that mixes everything with story, gameplay, everything, with kind of countless hours, and, if you don't look up guides and you can really lose yourself in this game. There's few games that I have really nothing critical to say about. I never beat New Vegas. I always wanted to. It happened after kind of I played 3 a lot, and I really wish that I played New Vegas, but at the time people were shitting on this game. Remember that. Not like Luke was shitting on this, or anyone that I knew was shitting on this, but people were shitting on this game. And now it's like this cult classic masterpiece, but at the time this game was getting fucking slack. And over time it's gained its rightful following, but at the time I remember this game was not getting the best reviews, and I remember this came out around the same time that Fable 3 did and Lords of Shadow. And because of that, because of the review bombing, because of the review people saying this game sucked, I didn't play it. I felt no need, and then people were like, dude, this is better than Fallout 3, like, it really is. And then I wish I didn't fall for the propaganda back then. But Luke, followed through, and this and his number 3 have a lot in common. And I think that these games kind of came out around the same time, and I think that Luke has an affinity to these two games because they have so much in common. Kind of gameplay was, really, really well established, and that they were kind of the perfect sequels. I know obviously New Vegas is not the sequel to Fallout 3, but as a follow-up, I mean, you have a grand follow-up. You kind of have Fallout 3's weirder cousin with Fallout New Vegas. Like, it's less mainstream cousin that ended up being the better game. Number 5 is a game that we actually have in common. And I think this is our only game that we have in common in our top 10. And that is Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 1, me and Luke, sadly we never played this game together. It would have been a cool game to play together. Maybe if he gets it on, I think he has it on Switch. If he gets it on Switch too, let's shout out Luke. Let's play this together. Again, man, it's this dark game that Luke really likes. These games that you can play over and over, but also there's always a sense of mystery too. And I think all these games that he has, there's always going to kind of be like this different way to play this game. And Dark Souls 1 is the perfect embodiment of playing a game another time. And even though I don't think this game necessarily has the best of any game, I think it merges all the pieces the best out of all the games. I mean, you have some of the most set boss battles of all time. Revolutionary, honestly. You have some of the best world building on top of the best structure in the entire FromSoft games. Is this structure? Is this looping world is the best one in all the FromSoft games. And I think that each person has a different opinion on whether or not they like the story in one of the games more than another, whether or not they like the boss. But I think everything's up for interpretation with each FromSoft game. Honestly, I don't think you can say any one's better than another one. I don't think you can do that. I think, again, this is like the ultimate litmus test of a game is the Dark Souls games. Like, which one do you like the most? FromSoft games in general. Which one do you like the most? It says something about you. And this was an amazing pick from Luke. I know that he played this game obsessively, and compared to Arkham City, and we talked about this, compared to Arkham City, compared to Arkham Asylum, compared to Red Dead, to Alan Wake, to some of these other games, this game just never gets old. And I think that's, like those other games get old. There's something about them that just triggers getting old. But Dark Souls 1 does not. Dark Souls 1 is gonna, I think it aged better than Skyrim did. I think it aged better than every game from the 360 era. I think this is the 360 game. I think it's the best of that era, which is crazy. But man, this game has aged like a fine wine. It really has. Just its world, you can just sit and listen, and man, it's so much fun. Number 4 is Heroes of Might and Magic 2. I don't know, because when we talk about it, I don't know if Heroes of Might and Magic 2 has angels. And I think that Luke might actually like Heroes of Might and Magic 3 more, now that I think about it. Because 3 is the one with the angels and the archangels, and the classic castles of the Rampart, and the Citadel, and the Tower. It has all of kind of the masterpieces of the games, but I know that he also played 2 obsessively. Our families played 2 and 3 like nothing else. These are the games that we grew up on in common the most. These Heroes of Might and Magic 2 and 3 especially were the games that we grew up with. 2 has a better soundtrack. 3 has better every single thing else. No offense to 2. 2's music is something else. It really invites you in. And it really pushes everything up. Like, when I think about the castles in 2, I think about the music playing in the background. While in 3, I think about everything else. 3 doesn't have the score that 2 has, but it's the better game. I really don't see an argument for that. And I think that Luke agrees with that. I could be wrong. Please comment in the below, Luke, if you disagree with that. But I really think that he likes 3 more, and I think my brother likes 3 more. I think 3 is just the better game, but I could be wrong. But I think we talked about it, and there was Angels, and I don't think 2 has Angels. So I think it was me and him, like, we were in the moment talking about it. But amazing pick, Luke. Amazing pick. Number 3 was the most surprising game on this entire list by a mile, because I thought it was 1, but when he was explaining to me, I was like, I feel like you've said this before, what your number 1 was, and like, it was so close to BioShock. BioShock 2, for the longest time, what's his favorite game? It was his Arkham Asylum, and my BioShock. Like, we both were like, these are our games, man, these are our games. But what happened is we played them too fucking much. Like, when someone talks about Ocarina of Time, and they're like, it's not my favorite game anymore, but I beat it 100 times. And it's like, how is that not your favorite game? And I didn't understand it when I was like a teenager, or, you know, like, adulthood even. And it took me a while, and then I experienced it on my own, where I was like, dude, I cannot play this game again, dude. I cannot play Arkham Asylum again. Like, I legit cannot play it. It makes me, like, sick, kind of, when I play it, because I'm like, here we go, okay, open the grate, counter, and sneak up on enemies, and do these boss battles for the fucking whatever time, blah, blah, blah. And I think BioShock 2 is kind of like that for Luke, where it was, like, the game that cemented a lot of his likes, and a lot of, like, games going forward were, this was the benchmark for those games. And I think it's kind of like Resident Evil 4, where he played it so fucking much, where he just was like, I mean, at the time, I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. But now it's like, I mean, are we going to run through BioShock 2 again? I mean, what's the point? So, maybe if me and him don't touch these games for years, we'll be like, oh, finally, we get the magic again. But highly doubt it. I think these games are going to keep continuously drop. I think BioShock 2 will continuously drop for Luke after we kind of talked about it. And he was kind of saying a sentiment that I totally understood. That it might just be a game where he's like, dude, I have talked about this game enough. But it is a tremendous game. I never played the DLC. Luke did. And I heard the DLC was great. The multiplayer was good. And I beat this game like 5 times. Luke beat this game like 20 times. Just, you know, I was like, oh, I'm done with this game. I was done with BioShock, you know, like, just because I liked it. I mean, I beat each one of them, like, besides, and I only beat first and second one like 3 or more times. But BioShock Infinite, I beat once, and I was like, fuck this game. Seriously, I have no intention to ever play this game again. But yeah, Luke loves BioShock 2, man. Number fucking 2 is Dark Souls 2. And again, I get the sentiment with this game. I think that it's a little janky, and I think that jankiness from, like, it's that feeling of Play 2. And again, it's that feeling of, like, Lord of the Rings is like the benchmark. That's like Dark Souls. Like, this movie that is just, in essence, already perfect. You don't need to add anything to it. But sometimes being perfect is not always the best. Is not always the best. Sometimes people like kind of like this, like, different take on it. That's I think Dark Souls 2 is the worst experience as far as its world being combined and being, like, as good. But I think that Dark Souls 2 is funner to play. I think that Dark Souls 2 is the funnest FromSoft game to play. And I think it comes from that weird, like, Blade 2, Reign of Fire, early 2000s. It feels like an early 2000s movie placed into a game, where there's pieces that are missing and pieces that are like, dude, who made this? Like, when I bring up Reign of Fire, who made a movie about dragons, helicopters, the end of the world, and people, like, who made this movie? But at the end, you think about Reign of Fire and you're like, dude, that's such a good fucking movie. Like, it really was. Like, going back to it, it's goofy, it's got pieces missing. It's not the full picture, but there's something about that imperfection that is so captivating. And when Dark Souls 2 glows, it fucking glows out of this fucking atmosphere. It's one of the most glowing games because it's got Sin, the best dragon battle in all of the FromSoft games. I haven't played Elden Ring, so. But then it's also got one of the best battles with the Looking Glass Knight. And then it's got the best battle of all time from the DLC where you fight the Ivory King. That's the best battle in the trilogy. So, totally get why Luke picked this game. And he's playing through it right now. And I think that Dark Souls games, like, never get old. Like, you know, we beat these games so many times, and they just never get old. I was playing Bloodborne the other day, and I was like, dude, I beat this game countless times. And I still, like, playing it is so much fun, man. It's so much fun. And Luke's number one is Warhammer 40k Dark Crusade. He played Dark Crusade. He played 40k Dawn of War, the first one. He played Dawn of War, the second one. He loves these games, and I think that it is the gameplay merged with when he was like a kid, but there's always something to play, a different strategy to play, a different like feel to the game every single time you play it. And I think that's what Luke likes story, but I think that Luke likes these games that when you play, they really truly never get old. Some games get old after you play them too much, but some games have a loop where there's always something where you can find a different strategy or a different gameplay or a different build that you can do. And I think that really resonates with Luke. That's like what makes Luke. He needs a world. He needs that soundtrack to both kind of merge in the background, but then he needs that gameplay loop of like endless possibilities, and like, but also something he's familiar with. I mean, he's familiar with all these games. He could go back and play all these games. And I think, honestly, Resident Evil 4 will probably be off the list eventually. I think that BioShock 2 will eventually be maybe towards the bottom. Maybe at that number 8 or 9 spot, which is crazy because I never thought that Luke would ever have that low. I think that Fallout New Vegas will actually go up over time, especially if he just plays through it again. You know, I imagine that he'll find something new with it. You know, and I know that he played the shit out of New Vegas, but I just have a feeling that would go up higher over time. Lord of the Rings will probably drop a little bit. Dead Space will probably drop a little bit. DayZ will probably stay around the same, but I don't see it going higher. I think it's a multiplayer game, so it's gonna be, you know, over time it might drop because the servers might go down and whatnot. So eventually, what I think that Lucas's top games will be is I think Dark Souls 2 will actually be his number 1 over time. I think that New Vegas will be his number 2, and I think that Dark Crusade will be his number 3. And it's nothing against Dark Crusade, nothing against BioShock 2, but when he describes the games that he likes and what he looks for and everything, New Vegas has like everything that Luke loves in a game. And I think that if he could just play it in modern console form and like just like, or be like, dude, I'm just gonna play this on PC, I think it's just one of those things where it's like just have to start it up again. I think that, yeah, I think his number 1 will be Dark Souls 2, his number 2 will be Fallout New Vegas, and his 3 will be Dark Crusade. But that's just because he fucking loves Dark Souls 2. So I think when he plays through like this most recent time again, I don't even know how many times he's played it, but I think it will be his number 1. But as always, I appreciate you guys. Luke, hope you like this video, and I will see you guys next time.